Did I write a poem and not even post it today? Maybe was today one of the rare times when I didn't even write a poem? This is on. Did I post these later, maybe? All right. Maybe 11 hours ago. So this must have been a poem I wrote today. Wake me up before you go. I can't even say it. Wake me up before you go into that good night. Poems are how... this is pretty funny. This is why I wrote it, because I was keywording every day when I see those Facebook memories. I go through them, and anything that I haven't set up in a way that are to make them easily findable, I put on keywords. So that doing that makes me see poems from a year ago, 2 years, 3 years ago, and sometimes I get happy with something. Usually only the title or the first couple lines. So this must have been the first couple lines of something from a year or so ago, and then I rewrote everything after that. Poems are how language grabs poets by the ankles and beats people to a pulp with them. Wham, 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 wham! Like the paintings that words put into blenders, and on the highest speed possible, turn them into nothing but a colorful, bright, glowing juice that can be poured into spoken drawings to make oral cartoons. Poetry is the comic book version of the alphabet's misadventures. Painted on cave walls with voices who... there's a mistake. Painted on cave walls, it says here, painted on cave walls with voices who only fur was. Painted, that's the way I talk to cats and stuff. But painted on cave walls with voices whose only fur was silence, back when time was still just a joke and not yet worshipped by math the way it is today. See, hey, you sound really deep. But what in the world was I talking about? Something about poetry being, poems being something that grab poets by the ankles and beat people into a pulp with. And then something to do with blender. Wait. What is the other one? The poetry is the comic. This is a good one. Poetry is the comic book version of the alphabet's misadventures. That comes from that other thing before, which was like the paintings that words put into blenders. Like the paintings that were something to do with like words or nothing but pictures, but put into blenders. And then on the highest speed possible, apparently these blenders turn them into nothing but a colorful, bright, glowing juice that can be poured. Apparently there's an option there, but it can be poured into spoken drawings to make oral cartoons. You see, this is what sets up the line. Poetry is the comic book version of the alphabet's misadventures. Painted on cave walls with voices who only for... Maybe I was trying to get like a Tarzan Neanderthal speak there. I'm going to go in and fix that. Painted on cave walls with voice... I guess it's painted with the voices, whose only fur was silence. Back when time... This sounds really... I don't know what this sounds like, but I like it. Back when time was still just a joke and not yet worshipped by math the way it is today. Laughter the only light they had. Like bats before vampires when only comedians drank blood. Huh. Let's replay that. What? Like bats. Wait. Laughter was the only light they had. Like bats before vampires. Did you know there were bats before vampires? When only comedians drank blood and spit rubies, like teeth smashed out by each bone-crushing rhyme. Whew, man, there should be an app that calculates exactly what drug and at what level you need to take to make this stuff make sense. It's like, sending away for the decoder ring. I was going to say the decoder ring, like the apartment building in New York that John Lennon lived in. All right, so, like bats before vampires, when only comedians drank blood and spit rubies, like teeth. So, depends on where you want to, like, break up the rhythm there. Before vampires, when only comedians drank blood, pause, and spit rubies like teeth, smashed out by each bone-crushing rhyme. Wham, 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 wham! As we remember from earlier in the poem, we now think of as being the sound. We think of the whams. We now think of as being the sound of some band from the 80s grabbing George Michaels by the ankles and beating some spoken word slam fan to a pulp. You see it? I don't like spoken word or slam type people or their fans. But you see the giveaway there, The wham. You see the sound wham, wham, wham. We think of that as a band, like when the band from the 80s grabbed George Michaels. You see, you go, George Michaels was in the band Wham! And they sang, Wake Me Up Before You Go. You see, later on that becomes the title. It sounds to you like it becomes the title and then the poem comes, but to me, I wrote the poem, then I try to think of some clever, funny thing. So the 80s, it's the wham, wham, wham. We think of that as the sound of some band from the 80s grabbing George Michaels. First time I ever used George Michaels in a poem. Grabbing George Michaels by the ankles and beating some spoken word slam fan to a pulp. I like using the word pulp. But it's also a sign. When you hear that sound, wham, 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 that's a sign that something of mine, I guess these are bone-crushing rhymes, but it is also a sign that something of mine is just about to end with this last line. That's my technique for, 3 years now, where my poems always have the word poet in it somewhere, or it could be poets, or poem in it, and poems. Got to have all three of them, poem or poems. And it has to have the word poetry in it. So it has to have those three things in it. And then it has to end on the two words, last line. Some thing that some people don't notice is there never really is a last line. Just that designation last line. You could say, okay, and you go, and here it is, right here, the last line. And you could think, okay, well, what is the last line? You go like, well, last line is the last line. Kind of a who's on first thing. I'm allowed to do that because my last name is Watt, who, if you remember, was on second. All right, let me get, it's really, I'm kind of no sleep. Wake me up before you go into that good night. I wonder if it needs the music in the background to me. I don't mean the song by Wham. No, I mean the music that played every time Dylan Thomas walked into our room. The Dylan Thomas theme from the when was that sitcom? The 50s or 30s?